All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here live. Okay, we are doing the podcast today with a gentleman from Arizona. Okay, Mr. AJ. I'm going to say your last name, Janusz. I don't know if I can never say it right. But I'm going to have you say it too. But hit *6 on your phone, my man, so we can hear you.
Yep, I just did it.
How do you say your last name again?
Juhasz. So if you forget about the J and cover the Z, so if you just, stay with the UHAS, I think it's easier to pronounce. So it's Juhasz.
Juhasz. Here we go. Close.
That's perfect.
Juhasz.
Oh my gosh, you sound like a Hungarian.
I saw my friend last week, Eula, and I told him, I said, yeah, I have a friend of mine in Arizona, and his first name's Attila. He goes, yeah, very common in Hungary. He still has a big accent compared to you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have AJ from the lovely state of Arizona today. He's currently, what are you? You are currently, you're up there. You are right now. You are at the end of June. You were number 3 in your office. I think you're number 2 now, actually. And number like in the top 10 in all of Arizona. So congratulations. Tell us a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this wonderful thing and all that. AJ, please.
Thank you. So I actually started back in February of 2019, and I had the pleasure of taking your 4-day course back then. So, I signed up with Berkshire Hathaway, and Shirley, my former broker, told me that, hey, there's this wonderful class that you should check out. And so, I was eager to learn more about real estate. So I ended up signing up, and I thought that was a great way to start my venture into real estate. So technically, I've been doing it for 6.5 years.
Awesome. And the last couple, like I said, the last 3, you've been right up there in the top 1, 2, 3 in your office, also top 10 in Arizona. So tell them a little bit how you do that. By the way, for everybody, because some of them may not have heard this, he's currently in Budapest, Hungary on vacation too, which I think is awesome. So tell us a little about how you've been able to climb. I mean, let's face it. I know, 6-7 years to you seems like a lifetime because you've worked so hard, but in the whole scope of things, as you know, that's still that's not new, but that's medium now in real estate. So tell them how you've been able to do that.
Well, I think I definitely feel seasoned by now, but as I learn with every new transaction, there is no, boilerplate transaction. Everything is always different. So I'm actually very thankful for the organization to have, such awesome people helping out whenever I, have any problems because, everything from you to Veronica to our senior management, everybody is super, super helpful. So, there is no way that I could do it on my own. So, the company definitely gives me a good base, and then you just mix in some hard work and good luck, and, the magic happens.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you're also, and I appreciate that, you're also really, and you mentioned, a key person in the thing too was Shirley. When Shirley and Phil were running the office, but also Veronica's awesome. But Shirley was instrumental for you because I think she got you started.
Oh yeah, because I walked into the meeting room with her, and this was back in January of 2019, and I told her that I have decades of sales and marketing experience in 6 different industries, but my fear was that I didn't know how to apply those skills to real estate. And also there are so many, technical platforms and processes and, paperwork that I didn't know anything about. So, I interviewed with 5 different brokerages before I met Shirley. And I was beginning to be scared about this new venture because suddenly I started feeling like, oh, maybe I made a mistake. And then I met with Shirley, and in a few seconds I knew that I was at home because, she basically guaranteed that I will get the kind of training that helped me really excel. And actually things started happening pretty quickly because by my third year, I ended up closing $20 million. So, I ended up, getting on a fast track pretty quickly.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. And like you said, you had all kinds of experience in, well, I think you should tell them the story about how you came and went to college in Arizona and how you bought your first house, just to give them a little idea of your entrepreneurial spirit, because I think that's a great story. Tell them a little about that.
Oh, yeah. So I moved to the U.S. back in 1987 from Hungary, and my plan was to go to ASU. And back then, the only way you could get an international student visa if your family put up the funds in a U.S. bank account. So I was basically 19 and I had over $80,000 in a U.S. bank account. And I went down to Tempe, which these days looks very different. But back in 1987, it didn't have too many nice, accommodations. So I started thinking that, hey, maybe I should take some of that money and buy a house. And I met this lady who was a real estate agent, and she started showing me around, and I came across this brand new community close to Camelback and Granite Reef. And it was one of those little pockets where they basically went in, built 21 new homes, brand new homes in a gated community. And we came across this community, and I ended up buying one of the model homes. And believe it or not, back then, you could buy an 1,800 square foot home for $155,000. So it's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. And because I always wanted to have a pool, especially when you come from Hungary where you have 4 seasons and not too many people, have pools, I said, oh, I want to have a pool. So for $10,000, they ended up putting in a pool for me. So, I'm 19, I have this brand new house, and used 1/4 of my tuition reserves to buy the home, or that was my down payment. And then I got 2 roommates to help me pay for my mortgage. And basically, that's how I got into real estate.
Get the money back. Get the money back to pay for your last year. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I actually, the good thing is that luckily I was smart enough to finish Arizona State University in 3 years. So that chunk of my tuition was never missing. So I just took some summer school and, I paddled through the classes pretty efficiently, took a full load most of the year. So, so the money was never missing. But it's pretty nice
awesome.
having your own house. Yeah. Some roommates, we had some awesome parties, and so it was a great way to get
You were a
started.
popular guy at ASU.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That's funny because my first house, I had a couple roommates too to pay for it. I bought my first house when I was 19, and I had 2 roommates, totally different scenario because I only went to college for 2 years, but I bought my house and had people move in, and once again, I was living there for basically free, and I went from doing real estate part-time to full-time after my second year in college in that house. That house was a huge stepping stone, just like it was for you. But, I think it just says some people get that entrepreneurial spirit early on. Some people acquire it later on. But, the great thing about real estate is you are an independent contractor. I like to say you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself with our company, right? So speaking of that, so give them a couple, your top 3. In order to be successful in this business, what are some of the things you really need to focus on in order to make that happen?
So one of the things that was very helpful to me is using the CRM that we have and what we call the VAC, just because I really don't have time to basically take time to call 5 to 10 people per day because, life is always passing by me at full speed. So, I love the CRM because at the beginning, yes, I had to take a lot of time to set it up, but it's been helping me so much for the last 6.5 years, just because everybody that's in my sphere of influence knows what I'm doing. And part of my success is that I do a lot of business for friends and acquaintances. Like, for example, this year I have done 14 transactions that have already closed, and 6 of those were friends or close acquaintances that I know from like playing squash, pickleball, or tennis. So, but you know, when I put them in, I never have to like bring up like, oh, by the way, you know, keep me in mind when you're ready to sell or buy a home, because you know they constantly get these reminders. And what's nice about it is that it's a gentle way of reminding them of what I do. And, you know, some people are afraid to be salesy with their friends, but, you know, I don't care. And then also when you get compliments like, oh my gosh, you are the best real estate agent that I've ever met, and I was afraid to do business with a friend, but, you know, it's just a great way to stay in front of people. And they always ask me, like, oh, how's real estate? You know, what's going on? How are you doing? So I think a CRM is just a blessing. And then I think also for me, it's very important to kind of, you know, keep a healthy balance between work, family, and also my personal life, like me time, because, you know, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the world of business, and you know you suddenly start seeing the dollar signs, or you want to perform well for your clients, and you just focus on work, but it's very important to basically at one point draw the line and say, hey, now it's family time, now it's me time. So I think that's also very important for me to be able to relax and recharge and be able to get back out there the next day and perform well again. And then also another thing that once again I learned from Shirley, that you cannot let some of your failures bring you down. Like she used to say at one point, like, okay, next, just move on. Like don't dwell on some of the failures. You just have to focus on the next deal and just keep charging ahead, because if you let things bring you down, then you're not going to be able to focus on the next big thing.
Absolutely. And failure and rejection and all of that is part of the gig. You have to be 100%, it's not like you're looking forward to it, but it's part of the process, right? You have to I guess you kind of get used to it. You just keep motoring through.
Yeah. Like, for example, like last year, I worked so hard, and for some reason, nothing came together. And, it bothered me, but at the same time, I just kept my head down and kept on pushing forward. And then 2025 came, and suddenly everything came together. Like this year has been completely bonkers for me.
It really has. And you've got all kinds of closings happening while you're gone too, on vacation for a month.
Actually, actually, what I did, Rick, I wanted to make sure that I closed everything before I came, and then I'm taking some time off. Yeah, I didn't wanna leave any transaction hanging while I'm on vacation. I wanted to make sure that everything was done. Last year when I was on vacation, yes, the day of me leaving, I ended up getting a home under contract, but this year I'm resting most of my listings, and also I closed everything. So, I'm able to kind of focus on my family and me time, and when I get back, I will be energized and ready to have a strong Q4, but there's no transactions currently in the process.
Oh, so you closed them all. So you waited a little bit of while. Okay, so that's what happened. All right, good for you. That's smart, actually. So now you got a peace of mind while you're there, and I think you have some listings coming up when you get back, right? Is that what you were telling me last time we were talking?
Yes. So that's correct. Even like 2 days ago, I was writing up a listing contract and I sent it over to my clients for review. So yes, I have one that's out for signatures right now. And also before I left, I had 2 listing presentations. And I basically honestly told my future clients, I'm like, in August, there is not much happening. I'm going on vacation. When I come back, let's do this and let's sell it, during the fall. But, right now it's just, status quo.
Yeah. August in Phoenix, which means there's always 3 numbers in the temperature.
Oh my gosh. But, when you look at the June and July temperatures, they've been so nice. And I keep checking the temperatures, and August is just hot. It's super tasty.
The temperature always averages out every year, Vegas, California, Nevada, Arizona, within 2 degrees. So if that summer starts off good, that the payback is coming because it's going to average out by the time it's all said and done. So, right? It's just the way it is. So, okay, so that's such a great point. Last year, you were doing the right stuff, but it wasn't coming together for you. This year, you're doing the right stuff. So it's kind of like, you go, it would be nice if 1/12 of our business happened every month, but it never happens that way. And even sometimes in this business, that's why you got to budget and plan, because sometimes you just go through a crazy run where for weird reasons, stuff doesn't close, you didn't get the listing, but then you go through a nice run after. So it's kind of, I think it's smart to not necessarily be plan for that, but be prepared when it does happen, right?
Yep, absolutely. And also just like with advertising, like sometimes when I sit down with clients and talk about my marketing plan and, I show them all the different tools, and sometimes they challenge me like, why do we have to do all this stuff? And I say, well, because 90% of advertising doesn't work. Unfortunately, we don't know what is the 10% that's going to work. So that's why you have to go in with a shotgun approach and you keep throwing advertising and marketing ideas at the wall, and something will stick, and then you are successful. So it's
such a great point.
It's it's
one of the many things.
Formula.
Right. One of the many things that I do is going to work. We just don't know which ones there are, so we're going to do them all just to be safe. I love that. That's a great way to explain it. Right. And, and I also think that, whether it's, because people are complaining, oh my God, the market's slow. Well, not for you this year, right?
Yeah. It's like, sometimes when I hear people complaining about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was in that situation last year. And then, suddenly I hear people complaining and I'm like, wow, I almost feel, weird about telling them how awesome my business is, because I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And what's a mystery is that it's not like I'm working any hard. Well, no, actually I've been working super hard. I kind of felt like, I went 200 days without taking any time off. Plus also I'm so OCD that I don't even use a transaction coordinator. So I do all my paperwork because I want to make sure that if there is a mistake, I'm responsible for the mistake, but also I always want to know, what's happening, what's going on. And if something needs to be done, I just get it done and I don't have to wait for anybody. Plus also, it seems like most of my transactions come together on a weekend, and then also I get a lot of like paperwork in after 5 p.m. So it's kind of hard to expect somebody to take their family time and take care of your paperwork. So sometimes I just sit in front of the TV and, enter data, and then I get hate mail from Wanda or some of the other employees saying like, oh, you made a mistake. I'm like, oops, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you got, like some people prefer, like you, to do it all themselves and they squeeze it in when they can. Other people like to have a transaction. I would always say whatever you're most comfortable you're kind of a perfectionist. Let's face it. You like to make sure things are done a certain way, which is great, right? And some people like to delegate it. And however, as long as it's getting done, that's the key, right?
Exactly.
All right, cool. All right, any other nuggets you want to leave? Anything I didn't ask you that you may want to share with them?
Ooh. Let me think.
You could always tell us what you're going to do while you're in Budapest.
Well, I'm definitely spending time with my mom, and also because she's making all these great Hungarian dishes, I'm afraid that I'm going to get even fluffier. So what I try to do every day is pick different parts of the city, and my goal is to put in at least 12,000 steps every single day. And luckily, the temperature right now, it's like 78 to 81, so it is pretty awesome. So it's just, you're walking around and just
spend some time with your mom. It's exactly what I'm doing later this week too, going to New Hampshire to see her. So here's a great question, and we've kind of talked about it, but I'd like to hear you answer it on this. So you come to the country at 19 years old from another country, right? You go to college in the United States, and then you become, through the corporate, you climb the ladder. So you really take advantage of, I would call it the American dream, and the opportunity that you had available. Tell us a little about that, how that feels now looking back.
Well, yeah, so I basically left Hungary in 1987 when it was still communistic, and I was kind of a troublemaker because I was playing in an anti-communistic band. So I tried to go to college twice over here in Hungary, and by the second time it became obvious that that's not happening. So I ended up going to Arizona State University. I got an undergrad in marketing, and then I fell in love with Arizona so much that I also wanted to do my master's. So I ended up getting a master's in international management, which ended up propelling me to different international positions at the beginning. So I worked in 6 different industries. My problem is that I kind of get bored with things. So over my career, I started out in the textile industry, that I was in the optical industry, that I was in commercial washroom accessories, I did tabletop, I did consumer goods, and finally I ended up in medical supplies. So I was always kind of going back and forth between marketing and sales, and also I had international positions at the beginning just because I had a master's in international management, but as I was getting older, I started feeling like, okay, hopping between 3 different continents was kind of tiresome. So eventually I had some, positions where I was doing marketing and I didn't have to travel. Then I got bored with that. So, my personality is always craving change and craving new challenges. And that's what I love about real estate is, when I had these jobs, like I was basically part of certain teams, leading certain teams, working with, certain people. But when you are doing real estate, and especially when I look back in the last 7 months, I did 14 different transactions. So that's like having 14 different bosses, because basically when I work with, clients, like obviously, they are telling me what they want to achieve. And in a sense, like, they are telling me what to do and what is their dream. And that's actually my slogan, like, let me help your real estate dream become a reality. So in a sense, then I have, sometimes 1 boss, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. At one point I had 6 different transactions. So, that gets a little crazy, but what's so exciting about it is that, okay, every transaction is different. Sometimes you have difficult clients, sometimes you have amazing clients who become your friends, and sometimes you are working with friends. So there is always a lot of variety. And also, I don't focus on a farm. So I'm not just, working in a certain neighborhood. Like I basically go all around town. I even did transactions up in northern Arizona. I did one in Sedona. I had a listing down in Tucson. I sold a home in Tucson. So it's always exciting to kind of get out of, the area that I know real well. Obviously, most of my transactions, take place in 85255 where I live and where our office is. But it's always exciting to like get into different parts of town, and suddenly you start noticing like, oh, here's a restaurant that I like, and it's just great because I've seen the city grow. Like imagine back in 1987, Phoenix had 1.7 million people. Now we have 4.8 million. In 1987, that's when they opened the 51 freeway, and now we have like 101, 202, 303. So I've seen the city grow tremendously, and it's so fun to be working in a city that I know so well. And I think that's also part of my, success, that I have been there for a long time. I understand the different parts of the city, and, sometimes I get into like a new neighborhood, like especially recently I had a sale in Winfield, and it was one of my listings. And, during open houses, like the neighborhood experts ended up like coming to my open house, and they kind of introduced themselves, and, they were like, oh yeah, I'm the neighborhood expert. And I'm like, whatever, I'm just an expert. I don't have to be a neighborhood expert. So, it's always fun to get into different parts of the city.
Yeah. It just seems like your entrepreneurial spirit, where maybe being suppressed where you were, being allowed to run rampant and wild, and you were able to do all the things that you were able to do and have that fulfilling life that you wanted, was, it was obviously something that was attractive to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even now when I come back and, I talk to some of my friends or family, and they're like, oh, aren't you homesick? I'm like, oh, no, not at all. And, as you said earlier, I'm living the American dream. I'm like, I followed the rules. I, did everything right. And, I just
pay your taxes and do all the things you're supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I travel too, it's like, it's really great. It's really great to go places and to see places and so forth. But I love coming home too, because, and it's not, it's not because it's not a political thing or whatever. It's just that in the United States, you're able to do things that you can't do in other countries, which makes it great. And for somebody that has that massive entrepreneurial, like you said, you get bored, that entrepreneurial spirit, like I love what Steve Jobs said, it's the crazy ones, that think they can change the world are the ones that usually do. And I think I think you fit in that category really well too.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, I also love Scottsdale. I think that's also part of the success, that I'm passionate about the city, about the different neighborhoods, because I've been a Scottsdale resident for 37 years now. So, I've seen the city grow, and I understand the different pockets. I always love when somebody comes in, they have no idea of where to go, what to see, and I'm like, okay, let me show you the different, I like to call it different shades of Scottsdale. Yeah. Just because when you are down in like the Gainey area, it almost looks like you're in California, and then you come up to my neighborhood in Troon, and suddenly you are definitely in the Sonoran Desert.
Right. Awesome. Well, okay, my man. Well, listen, you go back to vacation. I just want to say, AJ, thank you very much for taking your time out today. Go have a wonderful time. I'm sure people on today got some nuggets. You're the best. I look forward to talking to you when you get back.
No, you're the best.
Have fun, my man.
Awesome.
Thank you
so much. All right. Okay.
Thank you. You got it, buddy. Talk soon. Have fun.
Bye. Bye. Thanks. Bye.